item 11, all the legs, and the emissions trading scheme.
Kia ora tātou, ko John Moro Tako Ongoa, ko Tako Toranga, hey Chief Sustainability Officer, ahau. I think it's still morning. You're doing well. I think I have some pictures to show. This one is a submission that we made on
John, sorry, John, just before you put the submission, I'm just going to move it and get a second in regards to it. Or Wayne, did you want to move and second? Yeah, I'll second. So Wayne, thank you. So just put it on the table now for discussion. Sorry, John.
Hey, no problem. So I'll take you through this quickly. Hopefully, this is about the New Zealand Emissions Trading Scheme. I'll keep my verbal emissions to a minimum, and we could just take questions at the end. But just a few slides here. What is it? It was established in 2008, essentially to provide an economic incentive for us to take a reduction approach to emissions across the country. Largely, it was ineffective. We had the price of carbon at something like a few cents a ton at one point in time, so it really didn't do what it said it was going to do. And what government's been doing over the course of several years, and especially now, is to try to retool it to make it fit for purpose. I'd like to link to the previous submission that you approved around healthy homes and the fact that this actually drives an all-economy approach, so that hopefully at the end of a successful scheme, you won't have some of those problems in the built environment that we currently do now. There's also a link to the zero carbon bill. The ETS is linked to that submission we took through this committee a couple of months ago as a key lever to get to a zero carbon economy in society. So what's the scope for improvements? Again, like I said, it's to make it fit for purpose, to align with the zero carbon bill, to manage the supply of units, these emission units that are traded, to develop a ceiling for that, a different price ceiling than the current one, and to resolve some technical and operational issues to create better transparency and a degree of certainty for the market to move forward over the coming decades. Our submission goes through 6 main points. I'll take you through them very, very briefly, but it's right in front of you. I'm sure you've read. We're supporting things like the modeling to look at cost of emissions reductions. We're recommending that a portion of proceeds from the ETS go to local government efforts to drive down emissions and become more adaptable to climate change. We're suggesting that those who receive free emissions credits have to justify that and actually demonstrate action to reduce their emissions. We're supporting public reporting and review of data, essentially just transparency. We're recommending a provision to support small to medium enterprises that might have a harder time complying to this. And we're also supporting an ambitious transition that actually means getting rid of coal as quickly as we can. I just wanted to connect up to some of the work we've done with you and across sector. Just a week and a half ago, we had a series of 4 workshops with our subject matter experts from across a variety of businesses and organizations. This was a small piece of this. The emissions trading scheme is the market-based system to put a price on emissions, but there's a larger scheme of what we're doing right now, not just the actions we're taking currently, but the work we're doing on an international scene, the work that we're doing with you and local boards, central government, and others to develop a plan and a path forward. And just some visuals from that just the other week. It was a lively group of folks, so by way of just getting you across that at the same time as this submission, we got some very robust feedback on where we need to head to over the coming decade. I think that's all I have. You've seen this before. This is our timeline for the development of our plan, and happy to take any questions.
Cool. Questions and comments? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just querying, you're talking about different industries having potential variances and different scopes. Would you like to elaborate a bit more on that, please?
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, I didn't quite hear the question.
So you, in the submission, we're talking about different industries having different levels of emission taxation and so forth in variable areas.
Yes.
Elaborate a bit more on that, please?
Yes, certainly. So depending on the industry, you will have a varying degree of carbon intensity and footprint for your industry. And so as we look, as I think we said here not too long ago, at a regional approach, sector by sector, it's really transport that sticks out for Auckland. Of course, we've got some industrial activities in the city as well, and those actually feature pretty high on our footprint. So there's a provision in there. So we at the mayor's request and the mayor's office request did consult with finance, legal, and the chief economist on this. And there's some sense that we need to be careful about how we move industry forward. Hence the zero carbon bill is a multi-decade really pathway to get on the right track, and this emissions trading scheme is one of the components of that. So industry by industry, the approaches will be different. The idea is the price signal behind all of that gives a fair playing ground. I will offer this as well, that agriculture was not part of this discussion, so it's not part of this consultation at this point, and it likely will be in the future.
Yeah, I was thinking about the steel mill more than anything else. But
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, there's no further questions, any comments? If not, it's been moved and seconded. I'll put the recommendation, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 12, just a